guys, and welcome to one more episode of Builder Nation. For today's agenda, we have Erik Reynolds, founder of Reynolds Moore, a company who specializes in deploying safe and secure autonomous systems. So welcome, Erik. Super happy to have you here. It's such an honor that this is their first time in a podcast, and thank you so much for being on Builder Nation.
Yep, thank you very much for inviting me.
First things first, I don't know if you can maybe share a little bit about you, about your background, about the company, anything you want to share.
Sure. So I guess, like you said, Reynolds and Moore, we're focused on systems engineering, specifically for robotics and specifically for safety systems that apply any kind of automated safety systems. We work in energy storage, robotics, medical systems, but the bulk of our work is in robotic systems. I guess right now we're about 20 people, maybe a little bit more. It changes every day. So we have systems engineers, software engineers, hardware engineers, technical writers, test oriented folks as well. So the team is growing and we're seeing a big demand in the marketplace for our services. If you ask a little bit about me, my background, I've spent a lot of time in a lot of different industries. But primarily I came up in test and evaluation, first starting off with what was then called drones or unmanned systems in the US Air Force. I was a flight test engineer for those in the early 2000s. And if you remember, that was the kind of the Wild West of drone days. So it was a really unique and wonderful experience to get to be a part of that. And then also I started working in systems engineering and regulatory environments. After that, I've worked in utility spaces. I've led large organizations within those. And then in 2016, I decided it was time to start the company, and we launched and we did that, and it's been good so far.
I know, and I mean, I did a little bit of research, and I noticed that yes, you joined the Air Force, and then you worked at Intertech, and then Atmos Energy. So you have been kind of all over the place. And I think it's great because you have a lot of experience in the area. But what would you say it was the main trigger in order for you to be okay, I'm going to start my own company?
Well, there's a couple of things. I think one would be that it's always been a dream of mine to start. I consider myself a creative person. I know that a lot of people don't view engineers as creative people, but I think in a way we're the most creative because we want to make things out of our heads and make them real, right? So that's good. So part of it was just an internal drive in my personality. Part of it as well was recognizing a market need in this area. Just the fact that it's a new and growing area and there's so many people that are in need of it now. So that was part of it. And then also, to be completely honest, one of the main triggers for me to really decide to do the company full time. We work in safety, and a dear close friend of mine, their daughter was actually killed in an accident. And at that point, I had already started the company, but I just decided that I kind of viewed this automated safety as my calling. And I wanted to dedicate myself to it and to build the company to meet that need. So it's kind of a sad thing, but it's a very deep reason why I'm committed to this company.
Okay, thank you so much for sharing. And especially the main reason, or one of the main reasons, I mean, I'm pretty sure that nowadays, after everything and after all of these years, you're happy about what you have built. Mm-hmm. And I didn't know, and I wanted to ask you, I found out when I was looking at the company and looking at the history that your co-founder is actually your wife.
Yes.
So how was that experience? I mean, I'm pretty sure this is amazing and pretty hard at the same time.
Oh no, it's easy. She's a wonderful person. So so my wife and I, we met actually in engineering class at Texas A&M in 1999. I think we met there. And of course, we were on a team together at that point. That's how we met. And we have different styles. So as I said, I'm kind of the creative style, and she's kind of more of the diligent, studious style, right? And so we had a little bit of conflict at the beginning on the team, I think, but that's the spice of life, is to make it interesting. So we've been married now, of course, for 21 years now, and we have 6 children. We also we have been foster parents for a long time and adopted parents for a long time, so we're really committed to that just in our personal lives. But then when we decided to start the company, she has a master's degree in nuclear engineering, and so her emphasis is in radiation safety, and so she's, I would say, a better safety engineer than I am. But we decided to combine the two and to start the company together. So the Moore part of Reynolds and Moore is actually her. That's her maiden name, and we work together, and I think it works well.
Wow, I think you're one of the success stories, because I'm pretty sure in the everyday it must be hard to like separate your work life from your personal life, and then I don't know, maybe arriving home and being like, oh my God, we had this problem at the company and then this happened. So how do you manage that in your everyday, being the founder and having your wife being the co-founder? And I don't know, how is your everyday at the company like?
Yeah, well, that's a good question. I think, there's a lot of talk about work-life balance and everything. As a founder and as an entrepreneur, I think there's just life, and they kind of weave in and out together all the time. And so I think the real key for me is recognizing what are really my priorities in my life. And so I first and foremost care about people. And that's what drives me into safety and into engineering, is the care for wanting to help make ethical and safe systems out there. So that's kind of the core thing for me. So with that, it's kind of natural for her and I to, realize the things in the company that serve that goal and to focus on that. But then, as I said, we have 6 children at home, and so I care about those people as well. So it's easy to, I think, simple, straightforward to know where that is. And I think every person has to find that for themselves. Why are they doing what they're doing? And that has to guide all the decisions that we make. So yes, there's conflict from time to time, but that's
life.
Makes life interesting.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure it makes it interesting. Yeah. And I mean, I wanted to ask you, like, how was the experience getting your first investors, especially in safety? Like, was it hard?
Well, that's a good thing. So I started off the company, it was just me. And honestly, I was doing it part-time on the side. And then I started inviting people in to help out, people that I knew. And really, the recruiting story at the company has been one of me calling my friends that I know have the skills and the temperament, and inviting them to see if they're interested in it. And so far, it's been really surprising and a little scary to me, because I've had several friends quit their jobs and come to work, so that's kind of exciting that they're committed to it, but you feel the responsibility too. So it started off small, just me and a couple other folks helping, and then we've just continued to grow. And I do want to talk about finding investors. So we've taken a little bit of a different route with that, in that our growth has been all organic growth, and we haven't actually taken on any outside investment at all. We've been working completely out of revenue and continuing to grow. And I think that has been, number one, a reflection of the market need, of how much need there is in autonomous safety. And then also our focus on finding the right people who are committed to do the job. And that works with our customers too, because we're focused on what they are interested in and what their needs are, rather than just our specific solution. And so that's inspired a lot of trust and confidence with we have several of our clients are Fortune 10 companies. So they are really committed to, when they find the right partners, to developing good relationships and moving forward with that. So so far, we haven't taken on any outside investors.
Wow, this is really interesting. And that talks a lot about your company, how good everything is going. So I think that's amazing. Thank you so much for sharing.
Mhm.
And okay, so you mentioned that you're working currently, especially with robotics, right? Robotics, batteries, medical services. How it has been your experience with each one of them?
Yeah. Well, I think that I'll say what's common about them and then what's different.
Okay, great.
So the common thread for the work we do in medical devices, we've been helping people get FDA approval for medical devices. The work we've done in energy storage and getting a lot of these new technologies, hydrogen and lithium battery systems out into actual use on the grid. And then also in robotics as well, is that the thing they have in common is two things. One is they're all or three things. They're all highly regulated environments, meaning the government has a lot of restrictions, either national or state or local municipalities have a lot of rules about things. For instance, the FDA doesn't want to release approval for just any medical device. They have to show that it is reliable and can do what it's doing, right? Similarly, cities don't want to bring in a potentially very dangerous lithium ion battery storage system into a central business district until they know that they aren't going to have an increased risk of fire or something like that, because the safety systems are reliable with them. And then similarly on robotics, if you're going to deploy hundreds of thousands of robots out to interact collaboratively with people, then you want to make sure that it's working correctly, right? So I guess the three things that one is they're highly regulated. Two is they are also areas where there's a lot of innovation happening. And so a lot of the safety approaches and standards lag behind by 10 years, maybe more, and can't accommodate these new ways of doing things, these new technologies. So our firm focuses on helping find these new approaches to addressing those risks and hazards. And so and the third thing is they're fun. They're all really interesting to work on. And I think that keeps our team excited. So those are the things I would say are in common about them. The things that are different is they use different languages. So as I said, we're a systems engineering firm, and that's really the tools that are the same across all of those, but they all call them something different or have a different process for how they work. So for instance, in a medical community, you have a risk management file, whereas in a robotics community, you may have a hazard and risk assessment. And so there are different nuances. It's a bit like English and Spanish or Italian and German, right? You're all conveying the same meaning or trying to, but you use different words and ways of saying things in those contexts.
Okay. Well, I had no idea. And what would you say it has been not the funnest, but maybe the most rewarding company that you have ever worked for? Maybe the first one or maybe the latest one?
Well, I'll say the most rewarding company I've ever worked for is the people I work for at my company. I think that's very rewarding. But I think you mean a client, right? A lot of our clients are very concerned about their branding and image, so they don't always give us permission to talk with them. But I'll talk about one that's really exciting, and I know that they would be happy about this. So if you look for a company called 3OE Scientific, you can go to their website, 3oescientific.com, I think it is. So a good friend of mine is the CTO over there, and they've created a process that uses aqueous ozone, so ozone injected into water for sterilization purposes. And so what you end up with, because of the way that physics and chemistry works, is if you wash your hands with it, you are cleaner than a surgeon's hands within 7 seconds.
Wow.
Very exciting. And so we've been helpful in their regulatory approach and the testing that's required for that. And now they're looking to deploy all of those. They've already deployed them with several large school districts and other things like that. So it's been really interesting to see this, as you said, as we talked about earlier, a brand new innovation in this space. There's probably nothing as old in the medical community as washing your hands, right? But they have this new approach that doesn't fit into a lot of the other regulatory frameworks that are there. So part of our work has been helping them to get that in
innovation.
place. Yeah, it's a great space for innovation.
It is, and especially like, how many engineers do you currently have at the team? Are there mostly software or hardware or?
Yeah, so we have, I don't have the final number for you. I'll say 12 because it
Okay.
changes. We're continuing to grow, right? And it's about half split between software and hardware. So because as you know, in all these automated systems, you need both, right?
You need both.
You need people who
Indeed.
understand software, firmware, and you need people who understand how hardware controllers and all those sort of things work, right? And we need both of them to fit together. So we've tried to structure our team to complement our customers in that way.
Well, this is really interesting. Thank you for sharing as well. Have you found any challenges when it comes to the procurement whenever the pandemic happened?
During the pandemic, I think that was a challenging time for everyone. But for us, it was, I don't know if I can say this, but for us, it was an opportunity because because all of the sudden, everyone became fine with remote work. And our company is entirely virtual. We don't have an office where everyone comes to. We work virtually. I think many companies are that way now. But because of the pandemic, none of our clients had any problem with it at all. They were totally happy with it. It also gave us some great recruiting opportunities and ways to bring on people who were interested in maybe a new way of working or a new focus on their work. So one of my side things that I'm also involved in is I'm a professor at the University of Texas at Dallas in their systems engineering department. And I've been lecturing over there for maybe 5 years or so. But what's great is I've seen these students come up and some of them have been very impressive students and have approached me, and many of them are working with us now, right? And then also as I said, some of my friends have been helping. They now live all around the world. We have people in Spain, in Hungary, in
Atlanta, I saw.
Atlanta, yeah, and we have a network that's continuing to grow of that. So I would say for us particularly, the COVID supply chain problems weren't an issue. For our customers, they were almost business breaking problems for many of them. So, imagine that I'll give two perspectives. One is you're a startup who's trying to design and develop this highly regulated device, but you get notified halfway through the regulatory process that one part won't be available for 2 years.
Yeah.
So now you have to switch parts completely. And what testing do you need to reaccomplish? And what impact does that have on your design, right? Or imagine you're on the other end, you're a Fortune 10 company, and you're used to getting what you want when you want it because you can do that, right? And now you're bumped up against this problem of it's not that the vendor doesn't want to provide it to you, it's that it doesn't exist in the world right now, and so all of those have sparked, how do we do an impact analysis and a design change to be able to still meet the functional requirements of what we need for the safety system, but also meet the timelines that we need as well. And
also like adapt to the customer needs at the moment, especially in the pandemic. I'm glad that it was an opportunity for you guys. Do not feel bad about saying it, Erik. Most of the companies, or some of the companies, well, especially in software, they like talking to the CEOs or to the VP of engineering, they're saying the exact same thing, that it has been an opportunity, especially with the remote work. So I'm glad that it was like this for you. And talking about challenges, I wanted to ask you one of the last questions. What would you say it was the biggest technical challenge? I'm pretty sure there are a lot, but maybe the one that you remember the most when it comes to, I don't know, to a problem that you have faced.
Biggest technical challenges. Well, I think within automated safety, a big technical challenge is automated systems are working closer and closer with people. It used to be that you had a cage around the robot and it did its robot things inside and people were outside. Well, now everyone is expecting collaborative robots. Even some of the robots that we work with, people wear, actually. They're exoskeleton type things, you know.
Yeah.
So some of it is being able to predict what the person is going to do. So the robot needs to be able to do that. So what you're talking about is image processing from stereo cameras or other types of sensors. You're talking about predictive models for behavior of people within, say, a hospital or a warehouse or whatever it is, right? So a lot of those technical challenges are very, very difficult to tackle, but those are the most interesting ones too. And then for our firm, once you come up with an innovative design solution, we work with our customers to do that. The other side of it is now, how do we communicate to people whether it's trustworthy or not? And in that regulated environment, you can't just claim that something is trustworthy, you have to show it. And oftentimes we do that through third-party testing and certification that we lead people through. And I'll have to say, my experience in the industry is that there are a lot of people who are doing what I'll call a self-declaration, who are saying, oh yes, we've designed it properly and it works. And they're communicating things that perhaps they don't understand the depth of what they're communicating when they say that. And I don't mean to insult anyone with that, but if you say you have a safety system and you call it a safety system, or you say it has some capability, then what that's communicating to the market is that when I employ this system, that the liability that I would be assuming for any problems that happen safety-wise or otherwise on my facility is now on that manufacturer that I'm buying it from, right? And so if you make this claim and people buy the product, there's an expectation that you are fully compliant. And if you're not, in the US, of course, that's a litigation problem. It's a lawsuit problem. In other places, like in the European Union, it's a criminal problem. Like if you self-declare and you're not actually compliant, then it is an actual problem, not just for the company, but for the actual person who declared it. So it's a big problem. So a lot of people aren't aware. Yeah, your eyes got big, right? A lot of people aren't aware of this issue when you're making marketing materials or shipping product to other parts of the world. It's a very, very big problem.
And that's why people need Reynolds and Moore.
That's
Totally.
right.
That's right. That was the first pitch you could ever give to me, Erik. Thank you. And last but not least, do you have any advice for future entrepreneurs starting on this path?
Yeah, I think my advice is you've got to find your why. Why are you doing what you're doing? Are you doing it just because you want to start a company? That's great. That's fine. But times are going to get tough. You're going to have to make sacrifices, especially if you form a company with your wife. You're going to have to work through these issues. And you've got to have something, a very, very strong why, just beyond making money or whatever it is. You have to have a very strong why to fall back on in those cases.
Wow, straight to the point. Thank you so much, Erik. And thank you so much for being here and for sharing your experiences and for sharing everything about the company with us. Do you have any social media handles? Where can we find you? Where can people follow you?
Yeah, sure. You can find us on our website, reynolds-moore.com. And then also we actually have some things up there that you can look at too. We're on LinkedIn as well. And then we have a podcast as well that's called Safety Third. And it focuses on, yeah, that's right. It focuses on autonomous safety, which is in a couple ways, it's really kind of, I see the third wave of how safety is viewed in the world. And then also, of course, Safety Third is kind of a little bit of a pun, play on words about how often it's kind of the third thing people think about. It's not the first thing, right? So you can check us out there.
Oh, really interesting. Thank you. And remember, guys, that you can also find more information, interesting articles, interesting interviews directly on our website, controlhub.com/builder-nation. We would love to hear from you. And once again, Erik, thank you so much. It was such an honor to be the first podcast that you ever appeared on. So thank you so much for sharing your experiences and for being here with us.
Yeah, thank you.